We are back for another Christian review of regular books, and today we are discussing the Housemaid series. I also read The Housemaid is Watching, but I don't have that one, but we're gonna talk about the whole series. Let's get into it. For those of you who have never seen one of these videos before, I do a basic review, what you know and love to expect from a book review, star rating, what I thought, and then I get into my Christian review where I go over basic pieces of a book or series that may or may not have a fellow believer wanting to read it. If you want more details about what that entails and all of those pieces, you can do so by heading to the playlist. At the very top of the playlist is that intro video all about my Christian reviews. Let's go ahead and get into my regular review. The Housemaid series is a super quick, easy to read thriller. It was one of the first thrillers that I picked up to read in my reading journey. I was so excited to check it out, and it was all over TikTok at the time that I picked it up, and so I was excited to see what it was all about. Now, I read The Housemaid right before The Housemaid's Secret was about to come out, and so I wanted to read this one, and if I enjoyed it, then I could read the second one. Did not know that there would eventually be a third one and even a novella. Alas, we started with the first one, and I had the best time reading this book. I think this really introduced to me the ability to read books super quickly and to love them and enjoy them and just devour them in a new way. I had a feeling about a few of the twists in this book, but I did not care. Like, I still had so much fun reading it. I also loved the way that it kind of played out. I loved what happened. I wanted to know how it was going to happen. And so I just feel like I had a great time, even though it was super predictable. And again, because this was like new into my thriller reading genre, I wasn't sure if like predictability is more common in reading because you get to know the characters more, or if it's a style of writing. I've since read many thrillers that I have no idea what's happening or how we're gonna get there. So I've learned a lot in my reading journey over the past year and a half. Ultimately, I rated this book 5 stars. I then picked up The Housemaid's Secret, and again, it was fast-paced, interesting, and kept me engaged. The way that The Housemaid ends really kind of leaves open this door for it to continue. And I was so curious the whole time how it was gonna continue. And so when you figure it out, you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. However, when you get into The Housemaid's Secret, it's not quite what you would imagine. It is slightly different than how it ended, but it was still super fun, super fast paced, and I had a great time. The only reason why I didn't rate this one 5 stars is because this one at the end had something that was so far from believable, like it suspended so much belief. And maybe it's because I'm a Law & Order SVU girly, okay? So like I love crime shows like that, even though that one's also not reality. It doesn't matter. I don't know if that's why, but for some reason, the ending having this like very unbelievable ending, just, it like killed it for me a little bit. And so I rated it 4.75 stars. Still had a fantastic time. I then picked up The Housemaid is Watching, which is the 3rd book in the trilogy, and maybe it'll be a series, who knows, you know? We'll find out together. Anyways, I picked up this 3rd book, and I, at this point, was like, I'm invested in this story. I want to read this book. I am going to no matter what. And I had a great time with Millie and her story and continuing on in that space. I actually think that this was one of the best ones that she did, and I will tell you why. The first 2 are very similar, and I think that that plot will get very old very fast, and you couldn't really keep it going the same way every single time. So the picking up of this 3rd book, having a very different kind of expectation for the book, and even the storyline, made it chef's kiss. It was so well done. I also loved the way that it played out and why it was happening. I do think that Frieda really relies in The Housemaid on like people not talking, you know, just like do not communicate. And then that's why it'll be so confusing, but it didn't matter. I had a great time, and I actually rated The Housemaid is Watching 5 stars. I will also say that the twist at the end of The Housemaid is Watching completely shocked me, which after reading The Housemaid and feeling like, oh, I totally know how this is all gonna go, I loved feeling completely unaware. So that was awesome. Now let's go ahead and get into my Christian review. The first topic I always love to touch on is smut or spice because it's very popular in a lot of books. And there is one scene in the first book, but none in any of the other books. So that is great. I think even though it's in there, it's not so graphic or depicted or necessary even that you couldn't just skip past it and move on with your day. So that is a win, and I loved that. The second category is explicit language, and there is like very minor explicit language throughout all 3 of these books. It's like a word here or there. It's not super aggressive. It's not something that you really have to worry about, but just something to keep in mind. And the last category, because this is a thriller, is if there's any sort of like violence or gore. And of course, with any Frieda book I've read so far, they do have some aspect of like violence or gore, like a scene that happens in the midst of the book. They're usually kind of like focused on one or two main scenes and then everything else that's happening around it that's just very suspenseful. I will say that The Housemaid's Secret, which is the second book in the series, is a little bit more of a gory book in compared to the other two, but still nothing that's like that graphic or anything to really worry about. I do think that these are great for ages like 16 and up. I think they're fun and fast-paced and easy, and I think that a 16-year-old would probably like love this if they love thrillers in general. As always, you can find everything that I'm reading and rating in real time by following me on Goodreads. You can also find me on Instagram and on TikTok, and I do have my own YouTube channel where I go over more of my like recaps, my TBR videos, like things like that. So if you're wanting more of my day-to-day reading stuff, you can follow me in any of those places, and they're all linked down below in the description box. As always, we do want to continue the conversation with you, so make sure to send us an email at hello@inezfranklin.com or leave us a comment down below so that we can continue on in this. And I'll see you on the next one.